Let me just start by saying, first of all, how much I appreciate the work you do. Secondly, how unacceptable and outrageous it is that you are being asked, directed to work and not being paid. That's just wrong. And that it's particularly bad, given that this is a very pointless and senseless shutdown. And that, we had bipartisan agreement at the end of December about how to handle our differences over border security moving forward, which would have still funded the government and allowed you guys to be paid while you do your job. And so one of our real concerns here is we need to reopen the government, not only because you guys need your pay, but because individuals, small businesses, people all across this country rely on government services that we fund because we've all agreed they're important priorities and they're the right thing for the government to do. Um, I am particularly concerned because you guys are on the front line of keeping our country safe. So first of all, again, let me thank you for doing that. As you know, I come through here a lot. I'm in airports a lot, and I always observe just incredible professionalism on the part of TSA employees. You do your jobs really well. You do it while people are tense and worried and trying to catch their flights. And you do it with an eye on keeping our country safe. So just thank you for doing that. I really do want to hear, as much as you are comfortable telling me, about what the impact of this has been for all of you. We're obviously focused on employees who are working, keeping us safe, not getting paid. Um, I will likely head down to Washington either tomorrow or Thursday. Still not sure when we're going to have a vote and what the bill we're voting on will look like. But I know that we still are going to have some work to do to get to agreement on the border security issue. And what we are trying to do is say, look, the House has passed bills that would reopen the government. We could pass those bills. They reopen all parts of the government that don't cover border security and homeland security for the rest of the fiscal year. We could reopen Homeland Security for a shorter period of time so we could still negotiate this last piece of the border security, but we need to open it. We will continue to make that case, and then we'll also continue to try to find some agreement that, you know, Democrats, Republicans, and the White House can all live with, that's our job, and we'll continue working to do that. But I also want to be able to raise up the voices of employees who are affected. So if you're comfortable letting me and other Granite Staters know how this is impacting you, I think that helps us make our case.
Well, I've always been someone that always paid my bills, and now I have to worry, and I have good credit. I don't want to ruin my credit, and I've had to call everybody I know. I'm thankful my bank is letting me put up my mortgage a little bit, but that's like most important to me before food or anything else. So, I'm just eating a lot of donuts and whatever people give me now, and cheap food, which is it's a lot easier, it's a lot healthier. The healthy food is more money than cheap food, and so living on chicken patties and pretty much garbage, and that's no fun and no good for my health either.
Right. To your point about the mortgage, so we have done two things that you probably know about. One is we've passed a bill that says when government does reopen, you get paid retroactively. Then the second thing that we were all concerned about was exactly this: not only can you pay your mortgage, but will your credit be affected? So there is a bill that is working its way through that I'm hoping we'll get bipartisan support on, that would say no foreclosures, no bad credit rating, things like that, to really look at the long-term impacts of not being able to pay your bills on time, because this is not through any fault of your own. And so we want to make sure that we are helping you all with that when government reopens too. I know it doesn't help with the uncertainty and the difficulty right now, but we do want you to know we're trying to address that too.
Go on without any money. I mean,
right.
Right. So you want to leverage up your credit cards, that's the other
But
thing.
even then, you can leverage them up pretty quickly, but you're going to hit your cap at some point.
Most of the uncertainty is what all are committed to keeping passengers safe.
Right.
But how far can gas go?
Right.
We have several young parents here that pay a fortune. I mean, I talked to one.
For daycare,
He owes
right?
his daycare $1,200.
Right.
How far can they go?
Right.
How far can we go?
Yeah.
You know, without feeling like being punished because we can't make it to work.
Right. Right.
You know, that's what I'm up. Me and myself, it's just me and my husband. I mean, I've been fortunate enough that my credit union has fronted me my paycheck.
Yeah.
Of course, not including the holidays.
Right.
But it's helped out.
Right.
You know, so I'm not as bad off as a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And I offer people, you need gas,
Yeah.
you know, help. But daycares, you know,
Daycares
that should trickle down. Right
wickedly
there.
expensive, yes. And most daycare centers don't have much of their own reserves either,
Right.
so it's not like they can offer to float people
And, you
for
know,
long
the
periods
And
of
a
time.
lot of
Right.
daycares, it's you have to cut a
Pay.
check. You have to
Right.
write. They don't take credit cards, or
Yeah.
they want cash. Whether it be the babysitter,
Right.
that 14-year-old babysitter at the end of the day that wants their money. I don't have it. And
Yeah.
for us, what's tough with this agency is we come to work at 3 in the morning.
Right.
So try to find a substitute babysitter
Right.
that wants to get up at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning to come to your house to watch your kid and send them off to school.
Yeah.
Or any alternative to that. It's tough. There's no overnight daycare,
Right.
Unless you have that nanny, somebody sleeping overnight. It's tough
Yeah.
to find somebody.
Yeah. So that's that ongoing concern and uncertainty, and the notion that even if you've got some savings, you're spending money up front the way we all do to work, and
Right.
you're not getting the paycheck back to even cover those expenses, right?
I'm using my savings.
Right.
That was supposed to be for a trip for my family in
You're right.
August
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I don't go so far into the hole that I can't pay myself back.
Yeah.
You know.
This is Valeria. She's also AFG.
Hey, nice to see you. Nice to see you. We can probably, I don't know whose this is, but why don't I move that there?
Yeah.
And
I feel so punished anyways with it too, because it's now we can't do anything. Have to go to work and go right back, and not even getting no money at all. And so I'm gonna have to shut off my cable.
Yeah.
And so now I won't even have TV.
You're right. Right. I am getting calls and emails asked from people who aren't government employees, not only urging me to work to reopen the government, but also asking how they can help federal workers. And I've also made the point that depending on what kind of work you do for the federal government, some people are prevented from taking on second
I
jobs.
was just about to raise that.
Yeah.
Also, what happened is, so I've been doing work in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been watching that in the news. So Connecticut, because they have the same restrictions that New Hampshire has on the unemployment benefits.
Right.
The governor today, or they are going into emergency session to pass legislation to offer interest-free loans.
Okay.
To all federal employees who are working without pay, because those who are furloughed are getting unemployment insurance.
Right.
And so
But those who are actually working but for no pay.
Right.
Right.
They're prohibited from getting unemployment. So kind of catch-22, they can't receive donations over $20. They can't get unemployment insurance. They've been told to apply for food stamps. The food stamps are about to run out. Most states are funding these people's food stamps for the month of February and January so that they won't run out and have a lapse. But TSOs, when you think about that program, you have to show that you don't have any income, and they go by your last couple of pay stubs. So by the time they would apply and get in the system, there's no money there.
Right.
And how far does that go back? Because that was my next step.
Yeah.
Right.
And you'd think that, okay, you're so concerned with these immigrants that are going to be using all of our benefits are,
Right.
But it's turning into the people that have been native here to the country anyway. We need the food too.
Yeah.
We need to have money too.
Right.
And it's only a matter of time if well, something else other worse things could happen.
Right. Well, and we're also, look, to your point, because of some of the agencies that are impacted, including USDA, we have food stamp coverage through February, but most people will run out of their food stamp benefit before the end of the month, because most of the food stamps generally don't cover for a lot of people the full month of food that they need. So food pantries are anticipating that they are going to see an uptick when these benefits run out, because USDA doesn't have benefits for after mid-February. And so, but to your bigger point, if the concern is stress on our system, because of immigration, there's stress on our system from shutting the government down.
Right.
In all of you, right? And, you know, I will tell you that there has been large bipartisan agreement on ways to secure the border. And one of the great frustrations that I have and others have is that when we listen to experts on the ground, I mean the Customs and Borders folks on the front lines, what we hear is, yes, we should augment some fencing in some places we already have it. There are places it makes sense to do, but mostly they need more agents, they need more immigration judges, they need better technology, especially at the ports of entry. And so this is a pointless shutdown in the sense that there is major disagreement between most people in both political parties about how to proceed here.
On top of that, the people that are working the border are suffering just like
They're,
we are.
and they're not getting paid
They're
either,
not
right?
getting paid
Right.
either, so-
And it's a terrible thing to do, especially given frontline work is hard. I mean,
Yes. They get
you
hit-
know, you're talking about
Right,
coming
like
in
getting
at,
up
but
early
you're
in the
talking
morning.
about coming in at 3 in the morning,
Yep, that's
right?
the start
So
time for
to
us,
start
yeah.
time, so that you can work the first shift. And do your shifts rotate, or are you guys always on the same shift? Or
So
does
we
it
have
depend?
an AM shift and a PM shift,
Yep.
which is our primary 2 shifts.
Right.
3 a.m. is start time till noon.
Right.
That's 8 hours.
Yeah.
And then the PM shift is noon to 7:30, 8 o'clock at night.
Right.
And then we have part timers that fill in between.
Right.
So for me, like my wife and I, so she has normal hours.
Right.
So it's great is I work the AM. She
Right.
works 9 to 5. She gets the kids off to school in the morning.
Right.
And then I come home and I'm the chauffeur daddy.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
the one that brings them to Concord Dance
Right.
Academy. I'm the
Yeah.
one that brings them to Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts and all that. Luckily for us, there's 2 parents that
Yeah.
can split up the day
Yep.
for responsibilities. But for parents, single parents, or parents that work the same shift, it's going to be very tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hoping that in the future, the legislation maybe would be some sort of law that whenever there is a shutdown, like this mechanism turns on, for not just shutdown, but for future shutdowns,
Right.
where we can say, okay, we're in shutdown mode. This law now takes effect, where it says,
People who have to
mortgages,
work
retroactive.
Yeah.
What Senator Blumenthal introduced, he just introduced legislation so that you will automatically qualify for unemployment benefits
Right.
during the next, if there's another
If
shutdown
for
after
future
this, or for
ones.
future shutdowns.
Right, okay,
And
cool.
so that could alleviate some of the financial burden. that
But
you
but
all
I'm
have to
really,
bear.
I have to say I am really concerned that we are. Senator Blumenthal and others, we've all been looking at this, but I am concerned that we've gotten to a place in this country where we are contemplating future shutdowns. I mean, I know you all have to because you've been directly impacted by this.
I think this is the
This is
5th
a-
one. I think
Yeah,
this is the 5th
and
one.
it's
in
an
history, yeah.
outrage, right? I mean, we are a country that was founded on the notion that we would compromise, and that out of compromise we would get our best solutions. And we have gotten to this place where we are not only shutting the government down because of a standoff, but this is the longest shutdown we've ever had. And it concerns me greatly because most Americans, when you talk to them, know that we need you all, and that you are professionals and you do your job to keep us safe. And so we are right to be planning for another one,
Future.
because I don't want employees hurt this way ever again. But I am concerned if the assumption is that we are unable as electeds, as public servants, to come together the way our constituents do all the time. Because my guess is that each one of you has an example of something you disagree with a colleague about, with a family member about, but we find
right.
our way
Everybody-
forward. I
everybody
mean,
is,
right?
yeah.
And
Right,
so, and small businesses do this all the time. They get to yes because they need to keep things going.
Right, and I just wanted to say, I would like to see some legislation that automatically guarantees that essential employees not just get unemployment benefits. I would like to see them continue their pay because of their financial suitability
Right.
requirement that's tied to their national
Yes.
security
Yes.
clearance. It places them in a catch-22. if they don't pay their bills, or if their bills go delinquent,
Yeah.
their security clearance can be revoked. They're terminated by circumstances beyond their control that are manufactured by, legislators.
Legislators, right.
So we want to see some protections there, because those who are furloughed and at home, they'll be able to receive unemployment.
Right.
They're in a position where they can't even take donations. We have associations that are offering thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, and we have to say, no, we don't know how to distribute that, because it's a $20 cap on everybody, and,
Right.
and great, everyone's getting food. They still need their essential, toiletries and their
Gas
gas,
money,
and
right.
utilities,
Right.
daycare, and all of that. So we kind of want to close that loophole that would allow them to accept this in times of
Right.
hardship,
Right.
like a shutdown, or pass legislation that these essential employees.
So
be
I
paid.
want Granite Staters and Americans to understand what you were just saying, which is when we have employees who are in public safety jobs, and especially jobs that require a security clearance of some sort, we have very strict rules about how
Absolutely.
much debt, and for instance, credit card debt they can take on, because we don't want them
Susceptible to bribery.
or blackmail of some way. So we have very strict rules. If you begin to run up your credit card debt, you could lose your security clearance,
Yep.
which then makes you unqualified for the job.
Right.
We do have a bill in, Senator Schatz took the lead in it, I'm a co-sponsor of it, that looks at things like making sure people's credit rating doesn't get impacted by their being unpaid, that they can't get foreclosed on, they can't get
Nice.
evicted. And I think one of the other issues we need to look at is, if there is, heaven forbid, another shutdown, what are the gift limitations for people? Because I know lots of members of the public have said to me, I want to go give them a $200 gift card to Amazon, and I've said most federal
Right.
employees aren't supposed to accept
Right.
that, but people are trying to help.
Right, and
So-
I just saw three different articles. I saw one where one church raised several $1,000, and then they ended up giving like $13,000 each
Yeah.
to each federal employee. And I'm like, God, this is a nightmare, because these folks are now targets. And then I see two separate articles that talked about how these employees were forbidden or prohibited from taking donations over $20, how they could face fines or imprisonment or both. And so we're seeing that where people are helping, but they don't understand this. And I know we have a very, very hostile president who is very hostile towards federal employees, because he feels like, you all are disloyal for speaking out about the shutdown. And so we're afraid that these folks now, for receiving help, for accepting help when they are in the most desperate state, they're going to be targeted and ultimately
I
terminated.
think that might help is what's that agency, the Government Ethics Office?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I know I went to their website.
Yep.
And their literature is like old, or,
Yep.
or their videos, like their YouTube
Okay.
videos. Maybe they're subject to the shutdown too. I don't know, but if they're working,
Yep.
maybe they could come out with like a 5-minute video of
Right.
how.
So I saw an article on that. They're unfunded. They're not working.
Yeah, I
They're
don't
not
think
working
The
are
agency
either.
that funds
Yeah.
it, I mean, that
for
enforces
future.
it, they're not.
Wow,
Yeah, but-
for future,
but-
yeah,
but-
because
I
I
mean,
watched some of
again-
their videos and they're like 3 hours
Yeah.
long, and I'm like, oh no, I can't do that. But
Yeah.
if they had like little clip, like, you as a government employee, you can do this, and you can do this, and you can do
Well, I
this.
think, but I think also we got to look at the bill that we're working on right now about long-term impacts for people who go unpaid, so that we can really be clear about, if it's necessary to cover your groceries or whatever, or your cable, well, and yeah.
Credit cards cost. If you keep using it, I don't want to use my credit card
Right.
anymore.
Especially me, I just got my credit back up, and
Yeah.
now all of a sudden I'm looking at this and I'm trying not to use it. Fortunately, I'm in a good state. I've got a great landlord. But surely they have to pay their mortgage.
Right.
My rent pays their mortgage.
Right.
That stupid letter that they gave us is useless
Yeah.
for a personal landlord, because they can't take it to their bank.
And who wants to paint after work? What was it? Did they mention something about
Well,
painting for your landlord?
Yeah,
Or-
to barter, to barter with it,
and
yeah.
again,
Barter work,
again,
yeah.
for some people
You get
that's
up at
not
one
allowed, and but it also,
Yeah, because that's a gift.
yeah.
You get up at
Yeah.
1:50 in the morning, and now I know
Yeah.
it. I'm
Well,
already
they're talking
looking
about
at it.
furloughed employees like that are staying
Oh,
Yeah.
home.
oh,
They
okay. I
can,
thought
Yeah.
I thought
they
that
have
was
8
some of the
hours
Trump
in their
wanted
free
to
time to
go
do
Right.
something.
work
For us,
and-
But
it's
it,
different.
look, but it's still, you all work hard, you deserve your pay, you have a right to your pay. There's nobody else who gets told you have to go to work, but by the way, we're not going to pay you. And so I don't want people to lose sight of the fact that people who are working hard for a living shouldn't have to be wondering whether they've got to spend extra time bartering with the landlord when you have planned your lives, you've planned your finances, you are a responsible bill payer, you care about being fiscally prudent and taking care of yourself, and now you're being put in a position where you have to run up credit card debt or cut off your cable or do without the things that you work for. That most of us work so that we can be self-sufficient and afford things that are important to us in life. And so none of this is acceptable. By way of update, I will tell you that we have continually repeated our call to let's open up the government, let's agree that we will continue negotiating about this one area of border security where we're not very far apart, and let's get people paid again and get the full federal government back up and working. Because the other thing is that there's a whole lot of other things that the federal government does besides the work that you all are doing without pay that is really important to our economy and to the quality of people's lives. And the longer it goes, even if you think about food inspection and a bunch of other things, the longer this goes, the more difficulty we're going to have getting back on track as a country and as an economy, and that's going to be an unnecessary harm too. So,
I mean, President Trump's action or the shutdown is impeding commerce.
yeah,
When
I
it
know.
comes to
And
global
his own economic advisor has now said it's going to be twice the impact that they originally thought. So, I will, depending on when we get told our next vote is going to be, we'll be here shortly to fly back down to DC.
Now, I have a question.
Yeah.
You guys have Mr. Where's McConnell?
Yeah.
Connell.
All right, I call him another word. But
Nice. We're on video.
he is preventing you guys from voting on
To
this
open
bill
up the government.
that was you already voted for,
Yeah.
and everybody, and it
Yeah.
went through. Now he's stopping it. Isn't
Right.
there a way
Parliamentary
to stop
procedure?
him? Yeah. from
There is
stopping
not a
him?
parliamentary procedure that allows a minority of senators to bring something to the floor except when the statute governing the particular issue specifically allows it. So we don't have a way, so just so people watching this will understand, the Senate in December passed bills that would reopen or keep all of the government running through the end of this fiscal year, with one exception. We knew we still had a difference on border security, so we said we would just keep DHS funding for 5 weeks, which would give us a deadline to work towards to get our differences resolved. And we all passed that in December. And then the House, after the new House came in, passed those exact same bills, and they're back over. We could take them up again in this Congress and pass them. And Leader McConnell has the power to put them on the floor, and I believe that a majority of United States senators, a strong majority, would vote for them. The position the leader has taken is that if the president says he won't sign what we pass, that he won't even bring them to the floor. And a number of us have reminded Leader McConnell that we actually have the power to override a presidential veto. That is within our power.
Right.
And he says he won't do that because unless the president agrees, he's not going to do it.
That seems to be impeding.
It is.
It needs to be a parliamentary procedure
Yeah.
to say a motion, make a motion to whatever,
Yeah.
and then let all the Republicans vote no. Let the
Well,
everybody
that
vote.
is what
Then put it on the
we-
record that
right. And this is
you know.
there apparently isn't. So this is why we are encouraging people from other states
Right.
to call their senators and to call Senator McConnell's office, because there is a solution. The House didn't like. The new House of Representatives that got sworn in January didn't like everything that we passed in December. But they wanted to send back to us precisely what we all voted on so that we would minimize disagreement and just get the government open.
Right.
And again, it is not healthy for a democracy to have one party or one office holder threaten to shut down government unless they get their way. That's not what our system is designed for. And so we are doing our best to stand up for that principle, which is, you can't use federal employees or the people who really depend on services, maybe because they're disabled or they're seniors. I read about one family that supposed to get help with their housing. They have at least one child, I think they have two, with autism, and so that impacts the ability of the parents to work as much as they'd like to. They need that housing help so that they can have a stable place for those kids. We should not be holding you guys pawns or anybody pawns because we have a policy disagreement. And the whole point is to compromise. And so I'm going to keep speaking out against this whole tactic of saying that you won't even negotiate.
That's frustrating.
I wanted to tell you also that AFGE, we've now changed our strategy and shifted to doing a full court press on Mitch McConnell. We've just put up billboards in his town, all around his town, where he lives. We've got folks going to his office in D.C., people going to his offices in the state of Kentucky, and we have people calling his office. So we want people, because right now it's ultimately him. We have people, we believe there's enough votes in the Senate, Republican senators, who will vote for the budget that was already passed in Congress. So we're now targeting him and him solely. So I don't know if you're subscribed to AFGE's emails or to their, if you're watching them on Facebook or on Twitter, follow those hashtags because we're trying to bombard him. We're trying to make a trend. We want to put enough pressure on him publicly that he will finally give in to see that he can't just hold this line. And that's coming from both sides, not just Democrats, but
there are definitely
federal
Republicans who have also said that they want to vote to reopen the government, and we know that there's bipartisan support for that.
Should never be afraid to vote.
Frankly, I think our job in elected office as public servants is to follow the example of the people we represent. And I know not only people in New Hampshire, but people all across our country work together and compromise all the time. That's what we do. And to your earlier point, not only are you guys working without pay, but so are the agents on our front lines on the southern border, on the northern border. They work incredibly hard and they put their lives at risk every day to keep us safe, and they deserve to be paid. And they've earned the money. I mean, it's not just that they deserve it; they earned it, right?
Yeah, they earned it. Services rendered.
Right. I was going to say, and also, you remember, I don't know if you watched, their council president actually is standing with President Trump, but I wanted to reinforce the fact that their officers are not there inviting them in their ranks because they're upset that he took that position without consulting with those bargaining unit employees. They're not happy about not getting a paycheck in exchange for a wall, and also they you see this wall as like those self-service kiosks in the store. Put them out of a job. The bigger the wall, the fewer the officers.
The walls become a metaphor.
Yeah, and it's really, and the thing that I will repeat, I went down to the border last spring. I was, so struck by the professionalism of the agents at the border who helped me understand what the current situation is like. I saw fencing, I saw areas without fencing, I saw the ports of entry where really good technology can really help a lot on things like drug detection, and most of our drugs come through the ports of entry. But without getting into that debate, my staff's body language is telling me it's time to go. Yeah, but here's what I want to again. I want to thank you for spending time with me at the end of your shift. I know it's a long shift. It's a long shift.
Up to too is to thank passengers that have come through here.
Yeah.
They've
they've
given
been
us food. They've gone through, talked to our management, and say, hey, we want to do
Yeah.
something. We've had like what you did here, buy cups of Joe, donuts.
Okay.
We've had
Candy.
and
The
the
airport
airport
has
vendors have
supported us.
donated food to
They've been
us.
very good.
And so as long as we take it as a group, it's okay.
Yeah,
So it's
right.
It's when I'm in line at Starbucks
Right.
and a passenger goes, hey, I'll buy this for you. I
Yeah.
have to go.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you
I can't do
can't.
that.
Right.
And the
but-
passengers have been really great and support
Yeah.
us too. And
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
we hate that you
Right.
have to work without
Yeah.
pay, and we think it's wrong.
Right. Well, so we will keep speaking out. As I said, we are still waiting to find out when precisely our vote on this next step is going to be. What I hope the President and Leader McConnell would be willing to do is reopen government and then sit with Democrats and say, so where are our differences on this border security proposal, and how can we move forward on that? We will continue to hear everybody out and try to find our way forward, because we need to reopen government. It's wrong to use all of you in a policy dispute, and I want to stand up for that principle. But I'm also a practical person. We gotta reopen government. We gotta get this done. Our country's too important, and we are we're a can-do people, and this is ridiculous. So. Thank you again for spending time with me. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and your work. Please tell your families we appreciate them too.
Yeah, I
Okay.
will do that. I'll do that.
Thank you.
Can we get a photo with you?
Of course, yep.
What, go back?